Hey guys! Today I am going to be talking about why I stopped reading Name of the Wind. And I think that stopped, by the way, before you really freak out, is more of paused, why I paused reading Name of the Wind. It has been a while since I've picked it up for reasons that I'll explain to you, but yeah. It is also about why I'm a huge hypocrite, and those two things coming together will make sense very briefly, I promise. This video will include mild plot details about Name of the Wind, but nothing excessively spoilery. I haven't gotten to the end yet, so I actually can't spoil that for you. We're mostly going to be talking about things kind of in the middle. So before I start, let me just say that Name of the Wind is one of the most fantastically written books that I've ever read, right? I wanted to listen to it on audio so I could go slowly, so I wouldn't speed through the written book. I think that this is kind of biting me in the face now because I'm not interested in continuing it. The pace feels very slow. I can't skip over these parts that are killing me, but at the same time, I didn't want to skip. That's why I did the audiobook. And for the most part, I don't really regret that. I'm glad that I've gotten every single sentence because it's just wonderfully written on a sentence level. Patrick Rothfuss knows how to put a sentence together, let me tell you. So I really love the process of reading it. What has been really getting me about the book is the level of convenience. If you watched my last Sarah J. Maas review, then you know that I can't stand plots feeling convenient because as a writer myself, that's something that I know to watch for, and I know that it's something that you can generally fix. And beta readers will often tell you, this feels too convenient, it doesn't feel right, or it feels too crazy in a certain way. And so when plots feel like, oh god, the author just had to do that because that's the only way that the plot moves in the direction they needed to go, it feels like author intervention. So when I say convenient, that's what I mean. It's that a thing has happened because it needed to happen to further the plot, not a thing has happened because it felt earned or, it made sense to a character or it felt natural in the story. Writing plots that are entirely not convenient is almost impossible. Sometimes in order to keep a plot interesting, you need a certain level of convenience, a certain level of, oh my god, so close, can you believe that almost just happened? Even though two events coinciding that way, they don't feel like they should do that. And so that's what's gotten me in a couple of different parts of Name of the Wind. It's just I feel like there's author intervention. I feel like that thing, it's just too convenient. It never would have happened that way, not in real life. Again, this is a mild plot point, it's not a huge spoiler. Kvothe, the main character, he's a very smart guy. And he was kind of drugged up one day, and he goes to go into the library, and his great nemesis says that they're out of lanterns to go into the archives, but here, take a candle. And automatically for me, I go, buddy, you don't take a candle into a room of precious paper, basically. It just doesn't make logical sense. But Kvothe goes, oh yeah, that makes sense, and takes the candle into the archives, and then he gets banned from the archives. And one of the reasons he wanted to go to the place where he is to get into the archives to learn about the people who killed his parents. So you would think that, once this major dream is achieved, he wouldn't do that. And also, to add fuel to the fire, he's given this candle by someone he knows doesn't like him, but he's like, he chose today to be a good dude, and just believes that. And that was really crazy. And then later on, he goes to investigate this event that sounds a lot like what happened to his parents, and the only survivor is the girl that he has a crush on, and so they end up partnering to figure out what happened. And I'm just sitting there going, really? Her? Honestly? Her? Isn't really? Because you have to assume that it just wouldn't be that perfect, it wouldn't all fit together that way. And so it feels convenient for the plot. So here's where my hypocritism comes in. And it's that people say that life is stranger than fiction, and that's true, because when these kind of coincidences happen in real life, people are like, whoa man, that's crazy. But they do. things even crazier than these two things that I've mentioned, you know, dumb decisions, you know, people popping up when you least expect them, weirder things happen in real life, right? And we treat them as like, whoa, that amazing thing. And we don't question it because it's happened. And history is full of really strange tales of perfect coincidence after perfect coincidence rolling into this bigger thing. Like, I just was reading Dan Jones' book on the Plantagenets and watching the documentary that was made of that book, and just like the amount of just like, then this happened, and this happened, and this happened. It's crazier than anything that anybody could write, because if somebody sat down and wrote these events as if they were fiction, people would come back to them and say, that's too much. Like, you're too overblown. This is too convenient. It doesn't make sense for all of these things to have happened like that. And I really love history and historical fiction, and sometimes it amazes me the amount of things that happen in the historical fiction books that I read, and I'm like, oh my god, they must have dramatized that for the effect. They haven't. It's the real thing that happened. So why would I hold Name of the Wind to a harder line than like I can hold reality? I think when it comes down to it is that most books, like I said, involve an order of convenience, but it's how the author makes you feel about them in the end, and whether or not you feel like it is just this crazy coincidence that, whoa, can't believe that happened, or if you feel like the author has deliberately done something in order to push this plot into existence. And quite frankly, I think that that depends almost, you know, by the book, right? If you are really enjoying a plot and you're really running along with it, you know, do you stop and question some of these things unless they're really aggressively out of sync with what you would believe? Probably not. And I don't even know if I would have questioned this plot necessarily if I was reading the book as opposed to listening to the audiobook, because I would have just been like, oh, her, and then kept going to try and, you know, further the plot along. I like to read fast, and so a lot of times convenience, of which YA is full, I just zoom right on past because I'm like, you know what? Plot is moving, plot is moving, plot is moving. I'm into it. Here we go. Really bad plot convenience does pull you out of a story, and that's when you really know that there's author intervention involved, but it's really the part of that convenience that throws you out of a story. Like I said, I'm really attuned to plot convenience when it feels like characters aren't doing things that are true to themselves, and also when it feels like something weird has happened in the plot that doesn't make sense. And, you know, other people find plot convenience very jarring when there's like this random world building rule that all of a sudden pops up when, you know, it just needs to and otherwise isn't mentioned, or, you know, something in the writing. There are a bunch of different ways. I'd be really interested to hear from you guys what it is that throws you out of a book and what plot convenience or just convenience in a book means to you. You might not have my definition, and you might be able to defend the convenience that I feel in Name of the Wind with reasoning. I know that I've talked to like Michaela about Name of the Wind and stuff like that, and she both agrees and disagrees with me on some points, and she's able to articulate why she feels that a certain thing makes more sense than I think that it makes. And I really love having those discussions because it means that someone has caught on to something that I haven't, usually because I concentrate on, you know, plot and characters, and other people concentrate on world building, and you remember certain details of things that you maybe need for a plot convenience later. I just have been sitting here laughing at myself just because why do I expect Name of the Wind to be more seamlessly written than real life? Sometimes these things do happen, and I think part of it has to do with, again, me being a writer and knowing that my first thing when I edit is like, what if this feels convenient and how do I fix it? But it's also that the old saying is true, and that, you know, real life is stranger than fiction. We need fiction to follow a certain formula to make a certain amount of sense for it to feel like good writing to us, even if there are crazier nonfiction stories that somebody could write about that don't make any kind of sense, but they're real. None of what I'm saying means that I'm going to pick up Name of the Wind again anytime soon. I'm not actually into fiction right now. which is also one of the reasons that this has been weighing on my mind, because I am reading a lot of nonfiction and reading about this crazy lives of real people who, again, like if I tried to write that story, there's no way anybody would believe it. And I'm gonna do a video probably next week talking about like this kind of stuff and what I'm reading, and historical fiction and nonfiction and stuff like that. But yeah, it's weird, and it's not something new. It's not something that, you know, I'm not blowing anybody's mind with this video at all. But when you really sit down and think about it, it's just funny and it's strange, and you have to think about what you are okay with in novels and what you aren't okay with, and yet how crazy real life is anyway. Because there is an element to bad writing of too much plot convenience, of too much author intervention, and where is the line, you know, between this could really happen in real life and we shouldn't, you know, judge an author for using that kind of idea, or like the author had no idea what they were doing with this plot, and therefore they just like said that now this happens and then this happens to make the plot do what they wanted. There is a difference there. The reason that I don't think Patrick Rothfuss is doing that second thing of just motioning his plot along is because of how well written the rest of the book is. So I'm certainly not saying that Patrick Rothfuss is a bad writer. I'm just saying that it's weird. That it's weird and it's funny, and it's something that I have to get over in order to continue to read Name of the Wind. Because right now I'm just not interested, because I just feel like, oh God, really? And it's so dumb. It's so dumb. It might have something to do with the character as well. Anyone who's read Name of the Wind like knows who I'm talking about. And I haven't heard great things about this character from like anyone who's read it. So maybe it's her. Is it about character? I don't know. I'm kind of just spouting off at the mouth right now because I don't really have reviews to do for recent books. I'm not really reading right now, again, besides the nonfiction, which doesn't do that much for a review. I'm done saying that life is crazy, and I'm sorry. Life is actual bananas, and I have to take it one step at a time and fit this in when I can. So good to see you guys again, and please do join me in talking about plot convenience, and it doesn't have to be in Name of the Wind, whatever, and just chat with me down in the comments, and I'll get back to you. Thanks guys, bye!